Unbelievable. Absolutely, positively unbelievable. I can't begin to imagine who would have done this. For months and months and months, I just noticed this. For months and months and months, there's been a little piece of paper that was scotch taped to the console here. It said something about copybooks underneath. And over the months, it had become a work of art. There was this gorgeous, beautiful, multicolored collage. I don't know what else to call it, that had formed on this little piece of paper because of, people setting down their cold drinks or their hot drinks or spilling coffee on it or, Lord only knows what was on there. And somebody between the last time I was in the studio 2 days ago and today has ripped it off and thrown it away and didn't even go to all the trouble of scraping off all the scotch tape. I am heartbroken. It was... I know you guys can't begin to understand. Welcome in. It's 8 minutes after the hour. What do you care about my problems, right? No, I'm just supposed to come in here and listen to your problems. Right, yeah, sure. 8 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. It is a Wednesday, May the 10th, in 1989. I know that you guys really don't believe me, that I'm very upset and very distressed about all of that. But that's okay. You win some, you lose some. Again, a very, very special hello to Rose Marie, otherwise known as the I never listened to your show, but lady. I wonder if we could be serious with each other this afternoon. I wonder if it would be possible. Oh, also, before I forget, thank you very much, Joaquin Sanders. A very, very interesting, nice little column. If you're listening, and if you're not, maybe somebody will pass it along to him. Of all the things that have ever been written about me in this town, I think I appreciated what you said this afternoon or this morning, as the case may be, most of all. But nonetheless, I wonder if we could be very serious with each other this afternoon. I want to follow up on a show that was done yesterday. Show that Tedd Webb did yesterday. Damn good show. So good. We were sitting around during the breaks at Janice's living room yesterday. God, that seemed like such a great idea when we first kicked it around downstairs, but that's neither here nor there. We were sitting around talking about Webb show yesterday. In essence, what Teddy did was he asked you to describe when you first started to feel as though that you were not part of the in-crowd, that you were conceding apathy, that, you just didn't feel like you belonged anymore. And I even admit to hearing some damn good reasons, things like, well, when I came back from Vietnam and people spit on me or whatever it might have been. And that's all fine and well. But there are a lot of things weird going on in this country, a lot of things that need changing. So I was kind of wondering what it's going to take to get you guys interested again. What's it going to take to get you guys active in the day-to-day running of this country? And we all know what the problems are. We could go through them. Always say things like drugs. Yeah, sure, drugs are a big problem. Crime, sure, drugs and crime are a big problem. But, there's not very much that we can do about it. There are other problems, though, things that maybe we might be able to do something about. I mean, can you put an end to inequity? I think you can. Can you put an end to short-sightedness? I think you can. Can you put an end to greed? I think you can. But only if you really want to. So what is it going to take to make you want to put an end to some of the things that are wrong, to make you want to get it active again? It doesn't really make so much difference what is wrong or what you think is wrong. What really makes a difference is what's it going to take to make you do something about it. What's it going to take to get you active? To drive away bad old Mr. Apathy, because obviously bad old Mr. Apathy has bit a lot of you people, myself included. And I think that's a reasonable follow-up if you'll play along with me. If you don't play along with me, hey, it's just one of those esoteric shows, that didn't quite work, that we sit here on the end of the branch hoping that the tree is not going to fall over and, waiting until we get to the 6 o'clock hour so we can go home and forget about it. But I would be very curious, since many of you were very eloquent yesterday in saying why you became apathetic, I would hope that you could be just as eloquent in trying to find something that would make you become active again, make you put away apathy. Let me give you the telephone numbers. It's really all I have to say in the way of a monologue. The rest is up to you. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. That's 990-WFLA. In Pinellas County, 461-9352, 461-WFLA. What would have to happen to ignite your heart once more with some kind of passion, with some kind of drive? 990-9352 in Hillsborough. 461-9352 in Pinellas.
Meet Stephanie, a woman who truly believes...
I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm going to count on you. Let's see. St. Petersburg, hi, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Talking about being disinterested in, or, being felt like you're left out of everything. I know governmentally, I can only speak for myself, is that there seems to be too much insidedness in the government. You know what I mean?
Well, get inside.
Well, it's kind of hard to do that because you got to play by the people who are already inside's rules. And if you don't think like they do, then there's no way you can get inside.
Well, they used to be outside at one time.
Huh?
They used to be outside at one time.
Yeah, but it'd be just like conforming.
But that's not really what I asked. I'll come back to that if you'd like later on. What would it take to fire you up to even make you want to try?
Get more... For the people to be more personal. They're not personal. Everybody's a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Just to become more personal. That's all there is for me. I mean, I can only speak for myself.
How old are you?
19.
19 years old, okay, so you've never really been through
no, I haven't.
Any
but,
type of movement.
No, not really, but, I'm aware of what's going on and everything, and I don't know, it does interest me, but not to the point to motivate me, because I see what happens.
What happens?
It's all favoritism. Governmentally, and they do...
But there's only one person in the whole wide world that can change that.
That's me.
That's right.
I know. I know that. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I need to find something in myself to motivate myself. But you've also got to have something outside.
Okay, I thank you very much.
All right.
Be good.
Bye-bye.
All the Hillsborough lines are full. All the Pinellas lines are empty. A tad esoteric, I suppose, for Pinellas. 461-9352, 461-WFLA. Oops, I take that back. Just had a drop-off in Hillsborough, too. Guess it was a little esoteric for them. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon.
How are you?
Fine.
Great. I kind of got somewhat motivated when I saw what happened with that teabag revolution deal.
Uh-huh.
Not that it really accomplished that much in the long run as far as...
I beg your pardon,
well,
sir. It accomplished a great deal. It was very detrimental for the good of the country.
Okay, well, looking at it that way, yeah, I'd agree with you there.
Because I don't have mine.
Well, you know yourself.
That's all I can think about, Gene.
Yeah, but Bob, you know yourself. You could probably buy on the water if you just moved away, the kind of money you're making. But, and also you're worried...
No, you're missing my point. That's all I can think about. It doesn't matter whether I can afford it or I can't afford it or I can find it or I can't find it. I can think of nothing else.
To get a Gene or a Bob or a Patsy or whoever, Tedd Webb, back into the mainstream. Because let's face it, America has lost something. They don't participate. They don't care anymore. The last presidential election...
What's this they stuff, Gene?
They, generally speaking, people aren't as involved with politics.
Well, I thought you just told me you ran into a guy that you hadn't seen for 10 years. Why isn't it we? Why have you suddenly switched to they?
Well, we. I'm including myself.
Oh.
We are not
making
involved.
You include yourself.
I definitely. That started my point by making that point that I'm dropped out, and what it's going to take for me and for the rest of society, I think, is a new leader.
Is that an excuse, Gene?
Well, it's not an excuse.
Let's be honest about it now. Is that an excuse to kind of let yourself off the hook?
Well, in my case, it's kind of like, who cares, I read the sports page first now instead of the editorial page like I used to read. In fact, sometimes I don't even read the editorial pages because to me it's the same old hubbub. And when I read that Governor Martinez today has allowed his transportation department to so run amok that they're going to have to lay off thousands of engineers because they planned wrong. And when I read that some tin horn dictator is tweaking us by our nose down there in Panama, I get even the more chagrined, and I feel even the more left out and wondering, well, who cares? I mean, we're just coasting along. And when I read, some guy got busted with having made $2 or $3 million in cocaine deals. He's out in the street the next month because he's got some fancy lawyer. I'm just shrugging my shoulders. And I think, boy, you hit a great topic here. What is it going to take? Who is going to lead us out of this morass?
Well, no, wait a second. What was the name of that guy that made $2 or $3 million on the cocaine deal and was out in a month or two?
Pardon me?
What was the name of that guy that made the $2 or $3 million?
He made more than that. It's this guy, the Rich organization. He's testified to Congress, and Congress is, of course, patting him on the back, saying, "Boy, what a great guy you are. You're giving us all this information about cocaine." He's a Florida guy, local guy. I forget his name.
Okay, well, the point I'm trying to make is there may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe there may be a half a dozen of them, but it's not really that common. Okay.
Well, it's too common, Bob, that we are...
Well, if it's 6 people, I agree with you. That's 6 too many. But my point is, it's not like it's happening every single day. It isn't. Okay?
Well, no, it's not happening every day, but I think...
Okay, well, hear me out here.
Okay.
You talked about the tin horn dictator in Panama who's tweaking our noses. Yeah, he's tweaking our noses, but does it really make any difference to your life?
No, it doesn't, but we lose respect for our leadership when we see it happening, and we can't do anything about it. We haven't been able to do anything about it for 3 years now. Of course, the same thing happened in Iran and they're still happening when they keep our hostages, and we're not able to get anything out.
One more point. You spoke about the 20,000 state employees as well as an estimated 20,000 private employees, 40,000 people who will be out of work because of this dot disaster. I recall back 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, during the gubernatorial campaign, where there were really only 2 issues. Whether or not the Democratic candidate was a real man because he wore a bow tie and wasn't in favor of the death penalty. That's what we primarily elected Bob Martinez on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, aren't we scraping the bottom of the barrel here, looking for excuses not to be involved? Well, there's that dictator down there that nobody can do anything about, and there's these cocaine warlords are getting off all the time. Isn't that really just making up excuses?
Well, we're making excuses, and I'm making excuses, but I'm not in a position. I don't have the kind of money to just leave my daily grind to make a living, to just go out and lead a back to America type of campaign to bring respect back to America. I guess since Vietnam, and since Watergate, most of the public, like myself, have lost respect for our leaders, and now we're kind of just tuned out, and we just, it's going to take someone very strong that can use some charm. Reagan, a little bit, maybe tried to do it, but he failed. Because...
Well, again, you say since Vietnam, since Watergate, I will test my memory. Most of the American people during Vietnam said, well, I don't understand what's going on over there. Don't bother me with it. If you guys want to go over there, that's okay with me. I love my country. I'll trust you. And when it came to Watergate, of course, what we're really talking about is Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon primarily was put into office because for some bizarre reason, I can't quite figure out why, the hippies were affiliated with Hubert Humphrey. And, well, okay, McGovern, I can understand McGovern. He was another black day in the history of the Democratic Party. But nonetheless, I think we had Watergate and we had Vietnam because we had apathy in this country. I don't think Watergate and Vietnam caused apathy. We had them because of the apathy. Wouldn't you kind of tend to agree with me on that?
Well, I don't think apathy caused Vietnam. I think it was a megalomaniac president that got us deeper and deeper, and we believed him and trusted him. He was a strong man, by the way.
Which one are you talking about?
Lyndon Johnson. And but I think the impact of Vietnam has caused us further apathy, because I think it pitted us, probably not since the days of the Civil War, the nation has seen the strife, and it pitted us against each other, and it kind of caused us to shrug our shoulders and say, well, what can we do about it, And then Watergate comes along. It's like a 1-2 KO, and here we have a president almost impeached. It probably should have been, and we have seen more of the since. I hate to say this because I didn't respect a lot of things he did, but I think Jimmy Carter probably came as close to trying to get us back on some kind of a moral, bring some of our morals back, and create some kind of standards that we could respect.
I think you're right. That's why we got rid of that that poor sucker in a hurry.
So we threw him out because he was too good. You know, we kind of like, you know, we blame him for everything. I love when people pick on Jimmy and they say, well, look at those high interest rates. You know, you're right. What did he have to do with high interest rates? It's the big fat cat bankers. and you know, but again, who do we respect? Do we respect the David Rockefellers, the bankers? Nobody we respect. I cannot say right now that I got anybody I could respect for President of the United States.
Except possibly for myself.
Well, maybe you. I keep saying, at least you bring the issues up, and you're strong enough not to be kicked. You know, even though you want a $500,000 home, you're still strong enough to withstand the.
What a $500,000 home! I want a classic Florida bungalow. I just don't want to pay $500,000 for it.
Well, I'm glad you're not going to go for that, because you know, I'd lose all faith if I found out you paid, you know, even $200,000 for a classic Florida bungalow.
Don't worry about it.
In fact, there probably wouldn't even be a garage to cover that beautiful Lincoln, right?
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Money to run for public office. You got to have lots of money.
No, you don't. You have to have people who have lots of money behind you. Actually, you can't use too much of your own money.
Sounds to the same, my friend.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I got to go. The girls are coming in, and I got to fix them.
Okay, well, I'm just going to move on to somebody else. If you know, just want to come on and bitch and moan about what's wrong, but don't have any solutions. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFL. Hi.
Yeah, I would like to first make a comment about the last call you had there, who said he'd been writing people for the last 30 years and not getting anything done. First of all, you have to basically know how to contact the people or how to word things. Politicians are all very, very smart as far as speaking and communicating. And if you don't communicate properly, then your audience isn't going to understand you, and you're just going to be wasting your breath. About your first caller, I believe he was 19 years old, he spoke of the media. And it's up to the general public to pressure the media to put on information regarding our country and its well-being.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I believe that the media itself, like your radio show, you do educate the public. You're bringing up the issues constantly and allowing some feedback. And with the technology that we have nowadays and everything that's going on through the television where you have the 1960 numbers, you can actually get some ideas why can't the news program...
Now, wait a second. Bill Buckley has a program called Firing Line that's been on for 20 or 30 years. I don't know how long it's been on. It's incredibly dry. Every week there's a major issue, and virtually nobody watches it. Phil Donahue, Oprah, the whole Geraldo, all of them. Every day they have shows on about penis size or about, mother rape or father rape or whatever it might be. Oh, an incredible number of people watch them.
Yeah, but the people who respond to these...
Wait a second now. It's not the media who is denying the public access to these programs. The public stays away from the programs in droves.
Listen to what you said just earlier, though. You're talking about the penis size and all this sexual jargon, and then you mentioned something about Mr. Buckley, who had a show on for 20 years.
Yeah, but nobody watches it. It's on public television.
Okay, it's public television. There's mistake number one. Unless you get it on the national broadcasting, something like ABC, CBS, or NBC, get it on something that everybody...
But you're wrong. All three networks try, and they're always the lowest-rated programs.
But
Nobody
that's
wants to watch
because the attitude of the American public, all they want to do is watch the sexual harassment, watch the violence, watch the racism.
So it's the media that's supposed to force feed.
But the public, the attitude of the public has to change first.
You're not going to get away until you answer my question. It's the media that's supposed to force feed the public? So this is a profit-making organization here. I mean, if you want to send us $200 a month, and if everybody that listens wants to send us $200 a month, then we will force feed you with what we think you should hear. In the meanwhile, as long as we have to pay our bills here by soliciting advertisers, we're going to do what we have to do to get the largest audience.
Don't you feel, though, that the media is the most powerful form of communication in this country?
Well, of course it's the most powerful form of communication, sir, but who's going to pay for it? I'll tell you what. Let me put you on hold for a minute. I've got to go to Don Richards. We'll come back and pick up this if you'll be so kind. Don standing by at the WFLA News Desk.
Ask it.
Okay, how many people on all the other stations, on the radio stations or on the TV stations, actually go out and mention things of that nature? You have news people talking about murders all day.
Only the people that want to hear that it's headed to hell in a handbasket are tuned in.
So then the bottom line,
want to hear it.
Then the bottom line is we have to change our attitude, right?
No, sir.
Why?
the other people just don't want to hear it, sir.
You have to change the attitude of the public. All they want is what they want to hear, right? All they want, you're saying all they want is sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Change the attitude to what?
Change the attitude to concern, to caring, to a little bit of compassion.
My concern?
Huh?
My concern? Your concern? Or William F. Buckley's
Everybody's concerned collectively for the good of the country.
Well, sir, we can't have everybody on. We can only have a couple of people on. So there are only so many hours in the day, and only so many of those hours are considered to be good hours. I mean, like William F. Buckley, he thinks the major problem in the country is that the taxes are too high. I think the major problem in the country is that there aren't enough decent jobs. So who gets the airtime, Buckley or me?
Split it up.
Oh, no, sir. I need the full hour to make my point, as does Mr. Buckley.
Why do you need a full hour to make your point?
Well, it's a very complex subject, sir. I have to convince you.
Persuasion.
So I can't convince you in 5 minutes. I need a good 60-minute gut-wrenching monologue that'll have us both in tears by the time I'm finished with it.
That's still not going to work.
Well, sure it would, sir. You give me an hour of national time.
Not if the person you're talking to is an uneducated oaf.
Oh, sir, he's the best kind. He's the one that can really get to cry.
Yeah, he's the one that you're going to have to lead by the hand to get to the voting table and have him mark off the deal.
No, sir. You give me an hour of national time, and I'll have him marching.
I wish that were true. I really do. If we could get enough people together to go down and just stick to their guns and march on the issues that concern them or that they're concerned about.
Sir, you never get the pseudo-intellectuals marching. The only people you get marching are those dumb oafs that you spoke about. They're the only ones that go out and march. The pseudo-intellectual, you see, it's above him. He might stop down at the tavern and have some wine and cheese and discuss it with you, but you'll never see him marching.
Unfortunately, I agree with you on that.
Well, thank you on that point of agreement. I must run. 2 more hours yet to go. We have no idea how much bush you'll take, but please, whatever you do, don't venture very far.
News Radio 970 WFLA.
Well, we'd certainly like to thank our beloved leader, George Bushy Bush, for destroying our program this afternoon with an absolutely say-nothing little speech. First of all, we suddenly now have a Panamanian crisis. What's the crisis, George? George, in essence, told us that he will be reducing the embassy staff and asking U.S. citizens who live outside of the canal zone or secure housing to relocate someplace else, which leaves us with a very interesting quandary here. Is Manuel Noriega a bigger son of a bitch today than he was yesterday? And if he isn't, why didn't they do it yesterday? And then, of course, there is also what has become obligatory, empty, meaningless, trite, God bless you, at the end of the speech. I'll be damned if I'm going to devote my show to that crap. No way, Jose. I'm going to stick with what I started with, even though I've lost almost all of my calls. While this, just went on and on and on and on and on. I'm going to go back to where I was, in case you weren't with us. What I was doing, I was following up on something Webb did yesterday. Webb asked people, when did you become apathetic? When did you kind of just throw in the towel and say, hey, I can't deal with this? And I'm asking today, clearly in a follow-up, what would it take to get you to pick the towel up again? What would it take to get you back into a more active role? Okay? Simple as that. All the Pinellas lines are full. All the Hillsborough lines are empty. 990-9352 is the number in Hillsborough. 990-WFLA. Hi, Largo. You are on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
You're asking a much more difficult question than was asked yesterday, but I do have an opinion on it.
Great.
What is it, about 40% of the American people vote now? Is that a good turnout?
No, it depends on what kind of election you're talking about. It can run as low as 10, 15% and as high as 50.
Okay, I was basically talking about the national elections. Well, what I think has happened is there's a large segment of the American population that rightly or wrongly have felt that they've become disenfranchised from the system. And I think they rightly or wrongly also feel that the government's position is unless your last name happens to be Trump, they don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. And like when Ronald Reagan came in and he promised lower taxes and people would have more money in their pockets, well, you've pointed out time and time again, that wasn't the case unless you were in the upper percentile brackets. And I think a lot of people have very real concerns, some that you've brought up about, you work 40 hours a week, maybe your wife works 40 hours a week, still you can't afford to buy a home. Still, a lot of people in this country don't have health insurance. There's no national health insurance, and I just feel that people don't feel that the government is responsible. I'm talking about like the lower working classes don't feel that the government is responsive to their particular needs.
Well, the only time it was is when they were the government.
That's entirely true. But the only scenario I can see happening to change that, and I don't think it will, and I don't think it's practical, but if something major would happen, and I don't even know if you like this idea, but like if all of a sudden the president would get on the TV and say, we realize your concerns, say, over health insurance. Well, we're going to do what it takes in this country, and starting Monday morning, we're going to mail out these little cards, and every American citizen, is going to have access to quality health care. Something to happen that would be a genuine betterment for the people that they could see in their life that made them take notice and say, hey, something affected me, something made my life a little bit better, something concrete like that, because I think...
Well, it's not going to happen. I mean, you're talking about people just sitting back waiting for somebody to do something for them. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen, Bob. I said it wasn't going to happen, but I think people anymore have lost the hope that it ever will happen.
Well, it never will. They should have never had such hope.
Yeah, but don't you think that the lower working class people just don't feel that the government is responsive to their needs?
Well, it isn't responsive to their needs. That's because they're not part of the government. They used to be.
Yeah.
You see, it used to be the bricklayer's son who became mayor. It used to be the plumber's nephew who was on the city council.
That's true, but what I'm saying is it's kind of like the chicken or the egg.
Well, now we got nothing but lawyers and real estate agents on the city council.
That's true.
They'll blow these turkeys out and replace them with some plumbers and bricklayers.
Yeah, but I think unless something happens to wake people up where they actually... Nobody trusts the government anymore. Nobody believes Ronald Reagan's promises anymore.
How can you trust lawyers and real estate agents?
Yeah. I don't know the answer to it, Bob. I was just... I don't know.
Oh, neither do I guess. Thank you much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Really what it boils down to is a very simple, what is it going to take to get you active? I guess what I'm really saying is what's it going to take to get some real folk? I'm not really knocking the lawyers and the real estate agents, but, that's in essence what it has come down to. There is not a broad enough representation in this country.
I try to stay active, Bob.
Of course, the last thing I think any of us would want would be a bronze Adonis on the town council chasing all the foxes.
By the way, Bob, there's a house for sale 1 house away from mine. I gave him your name and number.
Oh, that's really sweet of you. Too bad I'll be out of town this weekend. Gary McHenry standing by with an airborne WFLA real estate. What I can tell you is that it weighs 8 pounds. It virtually moves itself. And it picks up dirt that virtually no other vacuum cleaner would even think about picking up. The Auric XL. One heck of a vacuum cleaner. Okay, it's one H-E-double-L of a vacuum cleaner. Okay, there, I said it. I'll stand behind it. The Auric XL is a hell of a vacuum cleaner. All right. 2 places where you can find them. 13230 North Dale Mabry in Tampa. The telephone number there is 264-1937. 2454 McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. The telephone there, 726-0523. The Auric. Do not miss it. Largo, hi, Larg. You're on air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob. How you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
I've been listening to your conversation today, and people want to know what they can do. I don't hear people talking about themselves. They're saying a collective we or a collective them. Whatever happened to looking at yourself and saying, this is what's happening to me? If more people had the guts to stand up and say, this is what's happening to me, we're going to find out what the real problems are going to be and how we can correct them. Too much issue politics here. Too many people sitting in a smoke-filled room saying, well, in our opinion, this is what it is because here are the statistics and here are the trends.
Well, that's terribly interesting and possibly even somewhat on the mark. However, what I asked is what's it going to take you to become active?
You have to stand up with your own voice. You each individual.
No, I didn't ask you what you were going to do. I asked you what it's going to take to make you become active.
As me.
Yeah, as you.
You have got to stand up and say what you believe. I have got to stand up and say what I believe. And take the heat for what I'm saying. Because all it takes is a few people with the courage, the intestinal fortitude to stand up and say what they believe, and you'll be amazed by the number of people who are going to follow suit with you. That's a leader. That's the leader in our country. It's not looking up. It's reaching out and inward and saying it.
Okay.
Hey, have a good one. I'm going to be leaving town. I hope you the best of success.
Thank you very much. By the way, speaking of leaving town, News Radio 970, Crackers Comedy Club, the Malibu Grand Prix, and American Airlines all would like to send you to Indianapolis for the 1989 Indy 500. All you have to do is send your name, your address, your phone number, and age to Indy 500 contest, care of 970 WFLA, 801 East Jackson Street, Tampa, 33602. Then listen to the Sports Huddle beginning Monday to see if you were picked as a qualifier. Finalists climb into Malibu Grand Prix racers later this month to compete for a trip to the Indy 500. You must be at least 21 years of age to enter the Indy 500 contest on your winning radio station, 970 WFLA. Clear, Water High Clear, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, I think I'll probably disagree a little bit with the trend that some of the callers are making. I believe that apathy basically isn't because the people feel disenfranchised or unhappy. It's because they're pretty well satisfied with the status quo.
Well, we all know that. What the question is what's it going to take to get you active again?
Okay, I think for the people who aren't satisfied with the status quo, the people who really want to get involved with it, I think they should try to find out what they believe.
But what's it going to take to get you active again?
Okay, for me, I'm fairly well interested in politics as it is, but for me to really get involved, to feel that I was a part of it, it's, like I said, finding out what you believe and getting involved with organizations.
Are people getting screwed in this country?
Some people are. But
is there a division between the haves and the have-nots that's getting wider and wider?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Well, then what's it going to take to get you so passionately involved in this that you're going to say, I'm not going to put up with that anymore?
Well, what I get angry about is from the other side of, I'm basically a libertarian. So what makes me angry is when the government starts stepping over into, the have.
So in other words, there's really, it's foolish for you to even act on this question.
No, it's not. I think it's just as important for someone who has my.
Well, now wait a second. A libertarian doesn't want any government, so there's utterly nothing that could possibly be done to make you want to get involved enough to take part in the governmental process to improve things in this country. And you're wasting your time and mine. Thank you very much. Unbelievable. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. Bush, if I ever get my hands on you, I'm going to kill you, you mother. You destroyed my show. It was going so well. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. Now I'm stuck with the libertarians and glad to have them. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. 461-9352 in Pinellas. I don't believe this. We were really cooking. It was really doing nicely. Thanks ever so much, Bush, for you and your absolute do-nothing administration destroying talk radio shows all over this country. People used to say the Vietnam War killed talk radio. Nah, it's George Bush.
970 WFLA News at 4:30 brought to you with 970 WFLA's Bob Lassiter.
Thank you, Don Richards, the third most popular newscaster.
Up a notch today. Instant arbitrons are killers.
Yes, they really are. Tell me about it. One line available. I don't know what happened during the newscast. You really lit up the phones anyway, Richards. It's in Hillsborough, 990-9352. A real treat for the audience. We have on the line here I never listen to your show, but lady, and this is the fifth call in the last 9 shows. Rose Marie. We'll even start using your name. How are you doing, Rose?
Hey, listen, Bob.
Yes?
I knew it wouldn't take you long to bash the president. I knew it. Now, I wasn't really listening, but I heard you as soon...
Rose Marie was not really listening, she said,
I heard as soon as the president went off, I heard you bashing him again. And I don't really like it. I really don't. And another thing is, why don't you go down there and live with that old Nagriegro, whoever his name is?
Why don't I go live with who?
Nagriegro.
Nagriegro. It's Noriega.
Well, whatever his name is. Why don't you go down there to Panama and move in with him?
Because I am a U.S. citizen and I live in the country in which I was born in.
Well, I'll tell you,
I like you, did not run away from my native land. I like you, love my native land. I didn't get the hell out of my place the first opportunity I could.
I didn't run away from anything. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Right. Well, you didn't start as a U.S. citizen.
I wish my son was old enough. I'd let him go serve in the United States Air Force. I wish he was older. I would. I'd let him go out there and look after our president.
Where were you born? What country were you born in, Rosemary?
In England.
England. Couldn't wait to get away from it, could you?
Well, I became a citizen of the United States.
I know. You couldn't wait to get away from England.
Well,
I love the country I was born in.
Well, I married a pilot in the Air Force, and he brought me over here.
Right.
Yes, he did, to Colorado Springs.
Well, sure, I believe that.
Yes, he
Couldn't
did.
wait to get away from England, huh?
And, anyway, I want to...
Hey, Flyboy, marry me, get me out of here. Get me out of here, Flyboy.
No, I did not. I didn't even ask him to. He asked me.
Right.
Yes, and I was very upset. I can't believe that you bashed our president of the United States. I'm just glad that wasn't President Reagan.
Hey, the Queen wears combat boots.
Well, I don't care if she wears, but I'm just very upset.
See, I told you hated the Queen.
No, I don't. I'm just very upset the way you bash our president of the United States, and you do it to him all the time. You did it to President Reagan, too.
Margot Thatcher
well, anyway,
takes bubble baths.
Well, at least I'm not an oversized, statistical wimp.
No, but I'll tell you what you are. Darn, she hung up. Well, I'll finish telling the story without her. You see, Rosemarie is a regular caller to another talk show. A retired gentleman in the area has a talk show on a station, more or less station, where yesterday, by the way, he was soliciting against SEC rules and regulations for donations, and also telling people to fill out their Arbitron diaries incorrectly, so that, maybe another talk show host wouldn't get the credit that he was entitled to. Tim, you're just one of you're absolutely stupid, and so are you, Micey, for having him around. But that's beside the point. These people are desperate over there, and they've tried everything in their power now for several weeks to get me to talk about them, including, talking about my masculinity. I'm not surprised that Tim is concerned with my masculinity, but that's neither here nor there. Well, Rosemary is a regular caller over there, and she called up a couple of days ago. That was hilarious to tell Jim that she had called the White House comment line not once, not twice, but 3 times, so that she could register her comment for herself, register a comment for Jim, which she was sure she would, know what Jim wanted to say, and register a comment for someone else, her son or boyfriend, who knows who it was, who cares. And, guys, I just really hope, I sincerely hope that there's somebody out there, or let me rephrase that. I sincerely hope that there isn't someone out there who's laying in wait for you, because what you people did the other day with the Arbitron and the Securities and Exchange Commission is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You guys are so stupid you don't deserve a radio station.
You don't go to me on time, you're going to be peddling light bulbs, buddy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Says who?
Yeah, it says me, buddy.
Oh, says you.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I am your mentor.
You are my traffic slave, and don't you forget it.
Oh, I love it when you talk like that.
Oh, I'll bet you do. Why don't you come by the house again tonight, and I'll put you on the leash and walk you out in the backyard in moonlight. Oh,
Sophie always bites at my heels.
Oh, it was so exhilarating. I've never had. Oh, do you know I had vapors for days after that? I think it's better. Cool off after that one.
Hey, Serio, dump some ice on him or something, will you?
By the way, this traffic report is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse with locations in Hillsborough and Pinellas County.
It is?
So why doesn't Bob do the billboard? Why doesn't Bob mention that? No!
Because I couldn't get it typed on his screen quick enough. Be quiet and do the report. It's sponsored.
I guess there wasn't enough time to get it on the screen there. The Grand Prix Car Wash, Robert Sobel, no problem. Armenia and Linebaugh, accident in Tampa, minor collision there.
I ran into a man named Dr. Robert Sobel. I sat down and I talked to him about his program. He calls it Quit for Life. And then one day in November, I took the program. 2 one-hour sessions spaced a week apart. Total cost $39.50. And a week later, I was a non-smoker. It's not that easy, but it's not that hard. And you can do it. I promise you, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Write down the telephone number, 787-5530. If you don't use it today, maybe next week or the week after that or the week after that. 787-5530. When you're ready to quit smoking, Dr. Robert Sobel will make it possible. Back to the phones we go. St. Petersburg. Hi, St. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob, you stink.
Oh.
Shut up, punk. I was talking.
Oh.
Hey, you fat son of a bitch, motherfucker, asshole.
Young man there didn't realize that we have a delay. He thought that maybe we didn't. And what he wanted to do was to use all kinds of words like he used to use back in junior high school. And see, he doesn't have his own talk radio show, and he feels very, very deprived. He will never have his own talk radio show. As a matter of fact, I doubt he'll even have his own pair of shoes. Clearwater, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob, 23rd time caller here, but the first 22 times I got a busy signal. I think what would really get me involved in the political process is the politicians would stand up and say something different occasionally.
Well, why don't you become a politician and say something different?
Well, I don't think I have the intelligence or the education.
What do you mean? Did you have the ability to dial the phone?
Oh, pretty good, yeah.
Well, then you got a hell of a lot more on the ball than most of the people that run for public office.
Well, yeah, but I tell you, it's like Harry Truman said when he was running one time about the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. He said if people have a choice between the Republicans and the Republicans are going to win every time. And I think maybe we can say that about either one of the groups right now. You'll notice that, like, for instance, they're quibbling over the minimum wage, and both George Bush, who's supposed to be head of the Republicans, and he's saying like $4.35, and the Democrats are saying $4.55.
The only reason they're quibbling over the minimum wage is because not enough people who earn the minimum wage vote. If they did, the minimum wage would probably be $6 an hour.
Well, if most of the people who earned the minimum wage voted, we'd have to lower the minimum wage to about the voting age to about 16. But what I'd like to see is
you see, there's just one of those great fallacies that you have swallowed. You see, the Republicans have actually contradicted themselves concerning the minimum wage. Wasn't all that long ago that Ronald Reagan, while he was our beloved president, stood there on national television and patted himself on the back for having eliminated the taxes for millions upon millions upon millions of Americans. And if you sit down with a tax table, you'll find out that that's virtually the minimum wage. Millions of them.
Okay, well...
And he wasn't talking about kids.
Well, the minimum wage is going to get me involved. Well, I was saying I'd like to see more political parties get involved in the process. I'd even like to see the communists field a party, field a candidate. And
what are you sitting back for? Why don't you go out and do something? And I'm not trying to be a smart ass here. I'm being as serious as I know how to be. You can't wait for somebody else to do it.
Well, you're right, and it's their own fault that we don't get involved.
I mean, I would like to see a guy like you and a guy like somebody else who sells shoes or whatever standing before the people talking about the issues rather than a couple of people who have been trained in school to say absolutely, positively nothing.
Well, I agree, and we should get involved. I think one of your earlier callers pointed out that the apathy voice basically is it's an individual sort of thing, and we ought to step forward and get involved. But maybe if we had more, well, like I said, I just don't feel confident in myself.
Well, okay, you don't have to run for office, but why not show up for the Democratic or the Republican meetings? You know, whichever party you prefer. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. But show up for the meetings. Become part of the party.
Well, like I said, I'm not too sure that there's... Well, I can see your point, getting in there and try to change it a little bit. Yeah, well, I guess you're right. I don't have a heck of a lot more to add to that.
So what's it going to take to get you down there?
I guess getting mad enough to walk down there and say, hey, I want to get involved in it.
Please do it.
All right.
Think about it.
Okay.
And try to do it at some point. Not necessarily next week, not necessarily next month, but think about it. Start thinking about it. Start getting it in your head, and one day you'll do it.
Okay, like I said earlier, I'm basically a libertarian. I'll have to go with the libertarian. Bye.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable indeed. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Don Richards standing by the WFLA news desk. Donald.
We're living under communism as far as I see it.
We're living under communism.
Yeah, it's about that way. You know, it's headed in that direction. I didn't vote for Reagan. It's headed in that direction. I didn't vote for Bush. You know, I see a lot of things happening that I can't do anything about.
Well, how do you think it's heading for communism?
Well, I see what the government's doing, in my opinion.
Well, could you be a little bit more explicit for those of us who don't quite see it that way?
Ooh, okay. A little more explicit. Well, even a preacher. I've heard a couple of preachers on the radio recently, and they're talking toward communism. You know, they allowed the Bible to be taken out of schools. That's how some preachers feel about it. That's their opinion. Of course, the FCC has cut them off the air several times, and most of the time when I get on the
road... The FCC has cut who off the air?
The preachers.
Which preachers has... In essence, what I had hoped to do, and pretty much kind of am doing, somewhat a little here and there, is follow up on what Webb did yesterday. Webb, I thought, did a fine show yesterday, asking people, in essence, when did it all kind of end for you in terms of, and I'm paraphrasing here, in terms of your being active, in terms of your caring, when did you become apathetic? And I thought I'd follow up today and say, what would it take to bring you back? What would it take to bring you back into the fold, to make you a little bit more responsive, a little bit more active in the day-to-day operation, running, if you will, of this place that we call America, where the bridge fell down and where they have a lot of dinner theaters. Let's go to Apollo Beach. Apollo, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
There in Nicaragua or Panama or the FDA that won't allow certain drugs for people who have AIDS and things like that, and personal liberties, that we're losing them. So I decided I wanted to become a libertarian. And at that point, I found out I could be a registered libertarian, but I couldn't get on the ballot because Republicans, Democrats at the state legislature...
I beg your pardon, you can get on the ballot if you have sufficient representation.
You have to have 400-some-thousand signatures every 4 years in this state.
Right, sufficient representation.
So that's how I started getting involved with politics. Every 4 years I go out and try to get libertarians on the ballot. I think we should do what they do over there in Soviet Russia. In the last election, when they didn't have, the majority of the people didn't vote for a candidate, the ballot was blank then. Nobody filled the post. If we don't like the Republican or the Democrat, let's put the third choice in there. None of the above. Then people will come back to...
Did you have any intention at all of addressing the question I had asked?
Yes. How do I get involved in politics? Every 4 years?
No, I beg your pardon. That is not at all what the question is. The question, as I have repeated a number of times, is what's it going to take to get you active? So you're telling me that you are active, right?
I am active.
Great. We'll go to who is in St. Petersburg. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob. How do you want to die? Can you answer that?
No, I can't. I don't think about it.
No, well, you're disregarding dissidents and the natural effects from neglect, just like this government is doing, the monarchy. So, you're a perfect example of, the whole system, so I thought maybe you would have some insight on how it's all going to end. No?
No what?
You don't know. You have no idea.
I have no idea about what? Doesn't it worry you that you just waste your life? I mean, aren't you in the least bit concerned? I have no idea what the hell you're doing, but I know you're doing something, man. Doesn't it bother you that you're just wasting your life, wasting your brain, wasting your time?
How about a cultural revolution, like the one they had in China?
No, punk, you answer my questions. I mean, aren't you in the least bit concerned? How old are you?
38.
38. Give me a break, huh? You don't sound 38. Where were you born in, real quick?
February 51. You know that from before, don't you? Remember the time before I called?
No, I don't remember the time before that you called.
Oh, I gave you that information before.
Who was president then?
Huh?
Who was president then?
Well, I think probably you could be president. You're just like him.
Just like who?
Just like Bush.
Oh.
You're just like the whole system.
Oh, how's
You know,
that?
you're doing it to yourself just like they're doing it to all
I'm
the
doing
rest
what to
of us.
myself?
Huh?
I'm doing what to myself?
Destroying yourself?
Destroying myself. How am I destroying myself?
You're just, you're a monomaniac.
A monomaniac. What's that mean?
That means you're insane.
Oh, a
You know,
monomaniac.
you're insane
means
for
I'm insane.
for yourself, you know, for a class or a subject.
And what are you?
related
And what are
to
you?
what you relate to, huh?
And what are you?
I'm just like you.
You're just like me.
Yeah. Except that I know what's going on, basically, just like you do. But you know, I'm trying to do something about it. But you know, you know, you're a perfect example. I think you're just like the system is.
What's that?
Self-destructing.
Self-destructing.
Yeah.
You're really great at rhetoric. Do you have any thoughts of your own? Do you have, do you have any words that are your words? Do you have any thoughts that are your thoughts? Do you have anything that isn't rhetoric? Do you, monomaniac, wasn't that it? Oh, boy, that's a great word.
Yeah, it
Except it
describes
doesn't
you real
mean
well.
anything at all. Sounds like something maybe you might have heard in some, little bizarre little left-wing coffee shop back in the 1950s. Is that something possibly out of Kerouac?
Keep going, man. Keep going. You'll dig it up somewhere, somehow, some way.
I'll dig what up?
Huh? Yourself out of the gutter.
Dig myself up out of the gutter, huh? 50 minutes you've been sitting on there, waiting for this. 50
has it been
minutes
that
of your
long?
life. Yes, it has.
Wow.
50
Time
minutes
flies,
of your
doesn't
life.
it?
For what?
For you, Bob. I
me.
sit here for you.
You sit here for me.
Yeah, to try to help you out, help you understand yourself so you won't go and kill yourself.
Uh-huh.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh.
Sounds like you're going crazy.
Unbelievable. St. Petersburg, St. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob, I'll try to answer your question. I hope. What will it take to get me politically active? Or I'd like to. Well, you're from Pennsylvania. I'd like to tell you about my friend that ran for what happened to him in Erie, Pennsylvania. Ed Hammer. I had a friend of mine that was his campaign manager, and he's run several times. In Pennsylvania, the first thing is different than Florida. They have very low filing fees. It enables ordinary people, not lawyers and doctors and professional people like here. And Ed's a pretty ordinary person.
What are the filing fees in Florida?
They're thousands of dollars if you want to run for governor, if you want to run for state senator. Up in Pennsylvania, an ordinary guy like Ed can run. But, he lives in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I guess you know where that is, but he's just totally ridiculed by the newspapers. He's run for mayor of Erie in the past. He's run for senator. He came in third a few years ago when my friend Dan ran his campaign. But unfortunately, the newspapers, just like here, just ridicule you and make you out to be some kind of bozo. He ran on the LaRouche's ticket. Whatever you think of LaRouche, but I mean, he didn't necessarily agree with LaRouche's platform, but he run under one of them.
I'm going to hang up, and we'll go to McHenry if is he anywhere near ready? God almighty. I'm taking a couple of days off, and I want you guys to know that, I am really,
I'm taking a couple of days off, too, Bob.
Gar, how'd you like to field some calls, maybe?
Sure, I'd love to do that.
You fly around up there all by yourself all day long. Perhaps you would be a little bit better suited to talk to some of the people I've had to.
Oh, you act like it's a job. You act like it's a big deal.
Well,
Good grief. Sitting back there in your air-conditioned studio in your big, luxurious, overstuffed chair. Somebody calls up.
With a bathroom right down the hall.
With a bathroom right down the hall and coffee and all that stuff.
Hot chocolate, too.
Hot chocolate. Somebody calls up. They mumble something incoherent. You're going through your briefcase for your next commercial. You have no idea. All you do is come back and go, beep, 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 and hang up on them. I mean, it's a real job, Bob.
By the way,
yeah, Bob?
I think maybe one afternoon you might consider coming down here and taking some calls.
I think it'd be great. We could have like Fox Day.
Right, Fox Day. Exactly. Fox Day. Hey.
Boy, this
Gary
is going to be
McHenry, world-renowned Fox chaser, standing by with a WFLA airborne Fox report.
I think we've come up with a major promotion spur of the moment.
Started out being a damn good show. And we were really getting some good phone calls. And then we, at 4 o'clock, Bushy came on, babbling incoherently about, was Noriega, the Panamanian crisis. Well, that sent us into somewhat of a tailspin. I thought we got it back, but by the end of the 4 o'clock hour, right before the 5 o'clock news, we were dealing with some people that we haven't dealt with since, the old nighttime show, which is fine. That's what made me, except I didn't know that that's what I was going to be dealing with for the next half hour or so. And right now, if I had an ounce of brains in my head, I would kind of sit up straight in my chair, spit into both hands, rub them together, and take what was coming, as opposed to hoping against hope that we could, strike the magic again that we had in that first hour, which apparently is completely gone. Now, there are a couple of calls on the board. I will give the telephone numbers. I have no idea what's coming down the tubes here. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. 461-9352 in Pinellas. I don't know why I'm going to do this, but I'm going to one more time indicate to you just exactly what it is that I'm looking for, because obviously not a soul has heard it, or at least no one with a telephone. What is it going to take to rekindle your spirit, to rekindle your activism, to rekindle your desire to have some direct input, except, we're not talking about once every 4 years where you drag your little bot out and go vote and think about, whoa, what a great citizen I am. I voted once. Clearwater, you are on the air at 970 WFLA. Hi, Clear.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon.
It's been a while since I spoke with you. Once again, it's an honor. The very, very interesting question that you posed this afternoon, it is not a question to be taken lightly. Obviously, a lot of the listening audience out there...
Well, it's not a question, you should ponder for 3 hours. Time is starting to run out.
I agree, sir. I agree. Well, I wrote down a couple of things I'd like to share with you and then share a quick story. I think when politicians spend a little more time governing and a little less time running for re-election, that might get me a little serious about getting involved. I think when the government gets serious about the so-called war on drugs, that includes me, Bob. I want to get serious about the war on drugs.
How serious?
The measures that I would like to take, I'm afraid, are considered extreme and might land me in jail. And I have uttered contempt for drug users and drug sellers, and I'm sorry, but I think they ought to be lined up and shot. When the control of schools is taken from legislators and given back to parents and faculties, I could get interested in getting involved. When people register to vote and exercise that right, I think I could get interested in getting involved.
Well, what I'm hearing is when other people start doing things, then maybe you.
No, sir. No, sir. I want to relate this story real quick. A gentleman that I used to work with, I was working in the campaign of a senatorial candidate last year during the summer, and I was doing a little campaigning around the office, and I was talking to this guy about possibly voting, and he said, well, I can't vote. And I said, why not? He said, well, because I'm not registered. And I asked him, why aren't you registered? And he said, well, I don't want to serve on jury duty. And my chin hit my chest, and I said, excuse me? Is that the only reason why you're not registered to vote? And he said, well, it's kind of a pain to get to the polls and blah, blah. And I said, no, whoa, just wait a minute right there. Let's take the jury duty thing. First of all...
You got to really wrap this story up. Sir. I'm down to 25 seconds.
I am. I said, if you were wrongfully accused of a crime, wouldn't you like to have at least 12 people just like you sitting on the jury to help decide your fate? Or are you going to leave that to people that register to vote just because they have nothing better to do? What is the deal? Padded expense accounts, inflated government contracts, bureaucratic waste and inefficiency, it all makes me sick. But, Bob, I'm not going to quit, and I'm glad you're not going to. Let's keep going, buddy.
Thank you ever so much. Don Richard, standing by.
Hey, Chicken Man, say something to make Bob real mad so he yells at you.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, that's okay. No problem. I don't want to yell at you.
I'm bored. I'm leaving.
Whoa. Glad we got rid of him. Well, thank you very much, Chicken Man.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
Take care. 5:44 the time. 5:44. We have. I'm going on vacation. If I wasn't going on vacation, I would have been going on vacation anyway. But since I'm going on vacation, we'll take another call. Indian Rocks, Indian, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Bob, how you doing today?
Are you serious? Have you been listening to this?
Yes, I have.
This started out like a high-class show. Miserable Bush.
All right. Mouthy, mean, and marvelous. That's you. Anyways, listen, I wanted to comment on, what would get me politically involved again.
Uh-huh.
And I would like to see the school systems in this country go ahead and start educating people in high school and registering them as voters as they leave. And, because when I went through high school, they didn't talk much about voting, and I was in the Vietnam era thing, and the thing was not to vote. Burn your vote card, burn your draft card, and everything else, and I think they need to reverse that. And like I said, they should, the last year, your senior year in high school.
Well, who are these they people?
Well, the consciousness of, of society or the citizens as a whole. I slided with you, as not joining the war in conscientious objection. And with that, I refused to vote. And, I'm voting now, but if I want to become politically involved again, they need to take the young people and start them all over again and teach them, what a vote is. Because you could talk to half the seniors coming out of high school right now, and they couldn't even tell you what it's about.
Well, but why are you going to sit back and wait for somebody else to do this?
Oh, I'm not. I told you I began voting again, and I'm going to become politically active again. But I really think we need, the public school system to, re-educate people on what it is that, what voting does and what power we hold. On Webb's show the other day, he said, 20% of the people is all that winds up voting. That has no control. There's no voter consciousness there. Not anything more than a TV ad or a free beer at a picnic will buy, and that's about it. And, they need to, public schools need to do that, to make people come forward and register them as they come out of high school so they understand what a vote is and get them back out to the polls.
What about a couple of free sandwiches and a cool beer after you voted at the city park?
I used to go to the Democratic picnics and drink free beer all day.
Well, I mean, as an inducement to get you to come out to vote. Is that okay?
Well...
Do you have any problem with that?
I question their alternatives.
Why?
Why? Well, what, I should vote for that man because he bought me a free beer? That's ridiculous.
No. I'm not talking about the man buying you a free beer. I'm talking about maybe the city or the state buying you a free, or the Fed gov. I don't care.
Well...
everybody get together, held the polling at the park. Except you don't have too many
at least on a Saturday.
Do you believe how few parks we have in this county? I couldn't... Oh, unreal. You wouldn't have any problem with that? People sitting around, putting away a cool one, perhaps even continuing to talk right up until the last minute, debate each other about who to vote for, what to vote for?
Sure, that's what happened originally in this country. I don't know that they drank beer, and I don't condone that, but I would say that, back in when this country was formed in the Declaration and stuff, there were groups of people that got together and said, hey, let's get a right to vote, and then let's vote this guy in, and and that's what we need to do again.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have a good day, Bob. I love the article about you.
I thought it was cute, too. Palm Harbor. Hi, Palm. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Oh, well, yes, I'm getting very close to vacation. Very close. Starting to do better.
My first time calling. I think what it would take to get my interest back in government, I've thought about this for a while, and I think what a democracy really is everybody voting. We're not really a republic, we're a democracy, but we have all our elected representatives up in Washington. They're voting for us, and we're kind of out of the picture. And I'm thinking that technology today, I think 97 or 95% of all American households have television. What I would like to see, if we could do it, is to have, like, Friday night or Saturday night, we could all have, like, on TV, a voting session. Congress could still be involved. They could argue the issues, argue the bills, and then when they were finished, one pro, one con, we at home would get to vote on the issue. And if there was enough people voting per issue, then they would have to accept it. If there was not enough votes, then maybe Congress could have the authority to pick up the slack and pass a vote or reject it.
Without trying to be a smartass, do you really want to give that kind of power to the people that you share this country with?
Well, I think, what does democracy mean? I've always thought that's what it meant to me, was that everybody...
We're not set up as a democracy. We're not intended to be a democracy.
I thought we were. I know we have people that represent us, but I thought that everybody had the right to vote, and I thought that...
Everybody has the right to vote for a representative.
Right.
And actually, the way it was set up, it wasn't even everybody. It was only the male property owners.
Well, was it...
It's gotten a little better since then.
Is that because way back when we didn't have the technology for everybody, the masses, to come to one place?
No, it's because men like Ben Franklin and even to a degree Washington felt that the average man was too stupid to vote.
Right.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's my idea, because I know, we have so many TVs and so many households.
Well, I thank you very much for it.
Okay.
Be good.
Take care.
Have a good weekend.
You have a good vacation.
Don't you worry. I'm getting out of here.
All leaves have been canceled. This is not a drill. All leaves canceled.
Like hell they are. Don Richards standing by the WFLA news desk.
President Bush has responded to the first international crisis of his presidency with...
Rather than one that...
Okay, so you're going to sit around and wait. You're going to sit around and wait for the parties to put up better candidates, then you're going to get involved.
No.
Well, that's what the question is, and that's what you just told me, so why didn't you tell me the truth?
Well, I feel that if the parties would have a process that we would nominate a candidate who did not have a whole lot of money.
They do. They're called primaries, and nobody takes part of them. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Bob.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be one of the few to touch on your subject today. Getting back involved, I believe, it has something to do with, if you have a good feel about the country and the government and stuff like that. But one thing I want to bring out, like getting back to basics, don't categorize everything like specific groups. You know how maybe I'm going back 2 generations or 2 decades or so, but there was less protest groups to almost, every subject imaginable. You follow what I'm saying in general?
Not at all. Off it is now to St. Petersburg. Saints are on the air at 970 WFLA. Saint once, Saint twice. Well, let's try this Saint line. Oops, that one's gone too. Such is life. 2 minutes left before vacation, it is not gone. Okay, let's try it again. St. Petersburg, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah.
I have a little solution. We had...
solution to what, sir?
To the
It'll never bring up any problems.
Well, there's too much of the one party in particular. Like we've got a president, but we have a Senate and Congress of one party.
Uh-huh.
And all the blame comes on the president, and yet we have a Democrat Senate and Congress. And it should be more conservative. And, what they blame Bush, but it's Senate and Congress.
Sir, the Democratic Senate and Congress are exactly what they are. They're what the people elected.
I know, but...
So don't say it should be more conservative because it's what the people wanted.
Well, it should be. As far as they're complaining about higher taxes and et cetera. It should be more blended with the president.
Well, that's not exactly what the founding fathers had in mind, sir. Straighten up.
Oh. Okay.
But details. Well, there he is gone. I am gone. See you people next Tuesday. For those of you who called today, for those of you who didn't, hey, I don't care. It's over. Whoa, whoopee! I'm out of here.
Hey, Mike, do you see a boot on his car out there? Those tickets catching up with him?